Anatol Rapoport (1911–2007) was a Russian-born American mathematician, psychologist, and peace activist. He began his career as a concert pianist before shifting to mathematics, earning his Ph.D. from the University of Chicago. Rapoport's work focused on applying mathematical and systems thinking to social sciences, particularly in the areas of conflict resolution, game theory, and mathematical biology. He was a foundational figure in the development of general systems theory, co-founding the Society for General Systems Research. Rapoport is perhaps best known for his contributions to game theory, especially the prisoner's dilemma, and for developing the tit-for-tat strategy, a simple yet highly effective approach to achieving cooperation in repeated interactions. Throughout his prolific career, which included over 500 publications, Rapoport used his multidisciplinary expertise to model and understand human behavior and conflict, with a lifelong dedication to promoting peace and cooperation. Anatol Rapoport's early life was marked by a series of transformative events that shaped his interdisciplinary career. Born in Lozovaya, Russia, in 1911, he immigrated with his family to the United States in 1922, settling in Chicago. Initially, he pursued a career in music, demonstrating exceptional talent as a pianist. He studied at the Vienna State Academy of Music and performed as a concert pianist across Europe before the rise of Nazism made a musical career untenable for him. He returned to the United States and shifted his focus to academics, earning a Ph.D. in mathematics from the University of Chicago in 1941. During World War II, he served in the U.S. Army Air Forces, which further exposed him to the practical applications of his mathematical knowledge. This diverse background from music and philosophy to mathematics and military service laid the foundation for his later work in applying mathematical models to social and biological phenomena, ultimately leading him to become a prominent figure in game theory and peace research. 1948, Cycle Distributions in Random Nets. This early paper delves into network theory, a field that would become central to Rapoport's work. It mathematically explores the structure of random networks by analyzing the distribution of cycles closed loops within them. 1950, Science and the Goals of Man. In this foundational work, Anatol Rapoport explores the relationship between scientific inquiry and human values. He argues against the idea of science as a purely objective, value-free enterprise, asserting that scientific progress is inherently linked to human goals and ethical considerations. Rapoport proposes a framework for understanding how scientific knowledge can be used not only to describe the world but also to help shape it in a way that aligns with humanity's aspirations. 1951, with Ray Solomonov, Connectivity of Random Nets, co-authored with AI pioneer Ray Solomonov. This article continues Rapoport's exploration of network theory, focusing on the connectivity of random nets. The paper investigates how likely it is for a network to be fully connected as more links are added. 1953, Spread of Information Through a Population with Socio-Structural Bias, Assumption of Transitivity. In this piece, Rapoport applies his network models to the study of information diffusion. He analyzes how information spreads through a population, taking into account socio-structural biases, such as the tendency for people to connect with those who share similar beliefs. 1953, Operational Philosophy, Integrating Knowledge and Action. Operational philosophy represents a major step in Rapoport's effort to create a unified system of thought. The book advocates for operationalism, a philosophical approach that defines concepts in terms of the procedures used to measure or observe them. Rapoport argues that by linking knowledge directly to action and observation, we can create a more robust and less ambiguous framework for understanding both the physical and social worlds. 1956, with Ralph W. Gerard and Clyde Kluckhohn, Biological and Cultural Evolution, Some Analogies and Explorations. This influential article, co-authored with leading scientists, draws parallels between biological and cultural evolution. Rapoport and his colleagues argue that the principles of variation, selection, and transmission that govern biological evolution can also be applied to the development of cultures, ideas, and technologies. 1957, Contribution to the Theory of Random and Biased Nets. This article refines Rapoport's earlier work on network theory, providing a more detailed analysis of both random and biased networks. He examines how the deliberate or non-random construction of a network, i.e. a biased network, affects its properties compared to a purely random one. This research was foundational for later studies on social networks, where connections are often non-random and influenced by social factors. 1960, with W. J. Horvath, The Theoretical Channel Capacity of a Single Neuron as Determined by Various Coding Systems. In this paper, Rapoport applies the principles of information theory to neurobiology. He and his co-author calculate the maximum amount of information a single neuron can transmit, depending on different encoding schemes. 1960, Fights, Games, and Debates. This book is a landmark in the application of game theory to social conflict. Rapoport introduces a taxonomy of human interaction, classifying them into three distinct categories: fights, games, and debates. Fights are characterized by irrational, emotional conflict; games are rational, strategic interactions with clear rules and payoffs; and debates are attempts to resolve conflict through persuasion and shared understanding. 1962, The Use and Misuse of Game Theory. Published in Scientific American, this article is a concise and accessible summary of Rapoport's views on game theory. He explains the fundamental concepts of game theory while also warning against its misuse, particularly in the context of international relations. Rapoport cautions that applying overly simplistic, rational actor models to complex human conflicts can lead to dangerous and misleading conclusions, a theme he would later explore in depth in Strategy and Conscience. 1963, Mathematical Models of Social Interaction. This comprehensive chapter, published in a Handbook of Mathematical Psychology, serves as a mini textbook on the topic. Rapoport systematically reviews the various ways in which mathematical models, including game theory and network analysis, can be used to study social interaction. 1965, Prisoner's Dilemma, co-authored with Albert M. Schama. This seminal work is one of the most influential books on game theory. Co-authored with Albert M. Schama, it presents an in-depth analysis of the prisoner's dilemma, a classic game theory scenario that illustrates the tension between individual self-interest and mutual cooperation. The book details the results of a series of computer-simulated tournaments where various strategies were tested against each other. It was here that Rapoport and Schama demonstrated the power and effectiveness of the simple tit-for-tat strategy, cooperating on the first move and then mirroring the opponent's previous move. 1966, Two-Person Game Theory, The Essential Ideas. In this highly accessible book, Rapoport provides a clear and concise introduction to the fundamental concepts of two-person game theory. He breaks down complex ideas, such as zero-sum games, non-zero-sum games, and the Nash equilibrium, using intuitive examples rather than dense mathematical proofs. The book served as an essential resource for students and scholars in various fields, including political science, sociology, and economics, who were interested in applying game theory to their own research. 1969, Strategy and Conscience. Originally published in 1964, Strategy and Conscience is Rapoport's powerful critique of Cold War-era strategic thinking, particularly the reliance on nuclear deterrence. He argues that traditional strategic analysis, which treats warfare as a purely rational game, is morally and intellectually bankrupt. 1970, N-Person Game Theory. Concepts and Applications. Building on his earlier work, Rapoport extends the principles of game theory to interactions involving 3 or more players. N-Person Game Theory explores the complexities that arise in multiplayer scenarios, such as the formation of coalitions, the distribution of payoffs, and the challenges of collective decision-making. 1974, with Lawrence B. Slobodkin, An Optimal Strategy of Evolution. Co-authored with an ecologist, this paper proposes a game-theoretic model of evolutionary strategy. The authors argue that a species' optimal evolutionary strategy is not simply to maximize its numbers, but to maximize its ability to survive in the face of changing environmental conditions. This idea of a stable rather than a maximal strategy echoes his game theory work on the stability of cooperative behavior. 1974, Conflict in Man-Made Environment. In this book, Rapoport broadens his focus to examine the origins and nature of conflict within human society itself. He analyzes how various man-made systems, from political institutions and economic structures to cultural norms and technological advancements, can both create and perpetuate conflict. 1975, Semantics. In Semantics, Rapoport explores the relationship between language, meaning, and reality. He delves into the philosophical and psychological aspects of how we use words to communicate, think, and understand the world. 1979, Some Problems Relating to Randomly Constructed Biased Networks. This paper revisits Rapoport's long-standing interest in network theory, providing further insights into the properties and behaviors of networks that are neither purely random nor perfectly organized. It focuses on the mathematical challenges of modeling and analyzing these randomly constructed biased networks, highlighting their relevance for understanding real-world social and biological systems where connections are influenced by a mix of chance and pre-existing factors. 1986, General System Theory. Essential Concepts and Applications. This book provides a comprehensive overview of general systems theory (GST), a field that Rapoport helped to establish. He defines GST as a framework for studying the principles that apply to all types of systems, whether they are biological organisms, social groups, or mechanical devices. The book explores concepts such as feedback loops, emergence, and the hierarchy of systems. Rapoport demonstrates how a systems approach can be used to analyze complex phenomena, from the functioning of a cell to the dynamics of international politics. This publication serves as a key text for understanding his holistic and interdisciplinary worldview. 1989, The Origins of Violence, Approaches to the Study of Conflict. In this book, Rapoport returns to one of his most enduring interests, the causes and dynamics of violence. He critiques simplistic explanations of violence and instead proposes a multi-layered approach that considers biological, psychological, social, and cultural factors. 1989, with YUN, Some Aspects of Epidemics and Social Nets. In this article, Rapoport applies his expertise in social network analysis to the study of epidemics. He and his co-author model how diseases spread through a population, demonstrating that the structure of the social network who is connected to whom is a critical factor in determining the speed and extent of an epidemic. 1989, Decision Theory and Decision Behavior. This book provides a detailed analysis of how individuals and groups make decisions. Rapoport distinguishes between the normative models of decision theory, how people should make rational choices, and the descriptive models of decision behavior, how people actually make choices, which are often influenced by cognitive biases and psychological factors. 1992, Peace, an Idea, Whose Time Has Come. In this later work, Rapoport consolidates his lifelong commitment to peace studies. He argues that peace is not merely the absence of war but a positive and dynamic state of cooperation and mutual understanding. The book presents a philosophical and practical case for peace, drawing on his expertise in game theory, systems thinking, and conflict resolution. 2000, Certainties and Doubts, A Philosophy of Life. In his autobiography, Anatol Rapoport reflects on his extraordinary life, from his early days as a concert pianist to his career as a multidisciplinary scholar and peace activist. 2001, Skating on Thin Ice. Skating on Thin Ice is a collection of essays and reflections that offers further insight into Rapoport's perspective on various subjects. The title metaphor reflects his view of navigating the complex and often precarious intellectual landscape of modern thought. 2003, Conversations with Three Russians, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Lenin. In this unique work, Rapoport engages in a series of imagined dialogues with three towering figures of Russian thought, Leo Tolstoy, Fyodor Dostoevsky, and Vladimir Lenin. He uses this literary device to explore their contrasting views on truth, love, struggle, and peace. Anatol Rapoport died on January 20, 2007, in Toronto, Canada, at the age of 95.